Yeah, so how's everything good?
Great.
Excellent.
Oh,
That was
good.
amazing, Sarah.
Good, as usual, good. Things are like a bit slow right now, actually, for the first time in a year. So I'm down to four clients because I had some turnover last week. So I have been doing some sales calls. Um,
Great.
so anyway, yeah, but I was actually one thing I want to ask you about is I was on a call last night with someone who has what appears to be a good business. He's with his wife. They're like a relationship counseling couple. And I would say the call went relatively well. Like the math works out in terms of what they hope to make from their course. But at the end of the call, I got uncomfortable because he said to me, well, I want to get my wife on the call next week. And you're really going to have to show her that you're not just someone who's read one Russell Brunson book and started your business. And I kind of was like, oh, it's just so awkward when people say that kind of stuff and I'm not sure how to respond.
I just so here's what we're talking about: is we're talking about overcoming someone's belief system,
Okay.
right? So what I do is I just name drop. Oh yeah, I've worked with clients who have actually been on Sally Jessy Raphael and Oprah.
So guess what? I did do that because I thought that you would say that as I was on the call because
And what do you say?
it didn't seem to phase him. He didn't seem impressed at all, actually.
Is it like I don't know what else you could do? Like you're working in the top agency group in the world. You have access to the literally some of the top agency owners in the world, and
Hmm.
you work with lots of different coaches. So I'm not even really quite sure how they can compare to ClickFunnels.
Yeah, that's what kind of stumped me. And I thought the negative part of my personality is like, I should just write him and say that I'm really like, because he didn't, I said I'd like to meet for a second call to talk about the details of the proposal with his wife because I know that they'll have objections and I find it better to handle it on the phone. But then afterwards, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just send him the numbers. And if he wants to schedule again, he can. Because I've been in that situation once before where she brought her husband on and it was the worst sales calls I've ever had because he just grilled me on a bunch of questions and just made me so uncomfortable and I don't
Yeah,
know.
I just sometimes what I hear you saying is not necessarily from your experience, but the experiences that I've had is I don't like when someone's like, all right, let me get my partner on the phone for our next call. And if you really just prove yourself, like you can do really, really well. And then they
Yeah.
play something like good cop, bad cop. And, I tell the story over and over and over. I just want to sit on the same side of the table, right? This isn't a negotiation, grilling, who's better than, like, we just want to find out if we can work with each other. So when it
Hmm.
kind of gets to that point, I'm like, but my old business partner that Nick and I used to partner with,
Hmm.
there's lots of reasons he's a former business partner, but the one thing he always taught us was everyone gets an offer.
Okay.
So what happens is happy to jump on the phone. Now, the one thing that I want to help instill in you over and over and over is just this amazing confidence that you have insight to data, not just like a book that sits on a shelf that no one reads, but you attend these calls, the group calls, you post a lot in the group, you get a lot of feedback, you have a lot of team member support.
Hmm.
Very few people in the world have access to support that you do or are as knowledgeable as you are. The perspective I try to share with Nick on a regular basis is Nick doesn't travel with me when I go out to these speeches. I can't tell you how many speeches I've made where half the crowd doesn't even have a fan page.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, I was going to talk about Facebook ads, but hey, Nick, you don't understand. We have to really dumb this down. Like all the stuff that we think is complex and interesting, it's super complex. No one understands it. So
True.
when people are asking you to justify, you're like, okay, look, I didn't take a blueprint course. I've joined one of the world's largest masterminds, not just because I could stroke a check, but because I had to talk to somebody to get through the process. This is all true. Talk
Hmm.
to someone to get through the process. Now I'm inside of a group. It's literally the world's largest agency owners or the world's largest group of agency owners where I have resources at my disposal. So
Hmm.
then I always ask the question like this, and Nick's heard me ask it, and I like to be uncomfortable, but you know that because you've heard me say it. I like
Yeah.
to say, so I'm not quite sure how you're judging me based off ClickFunnels. I'm in a completely different league all of its own,
I love that. That is so good.
right? Here's the
Yeah.
thing, though, is when I said specifically, I'm in a completely different league all on its own,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really give you any specifics. I just said a general statement. Whatever you wanted to believe from, that's your own, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, look, I don't know how you compare me to Russell Brunson, but I can tell you I'm a part of this mastermind, and it's not a mastermind I wrote a check for. I have this training, this insight, these resources. So I'm not quite sure how you're comparing me to Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Exactly how I would say that.
What I hear from this conversation is that they've probably either been burned by a newbie or had some conversations with them. So if it was me, I would probably go into the conversation and actually lead off and say, hey, Mr. Client, your potential client, you had mentioned this on your last call about, you hope that I'm not a person that just read one ClickFunnels book and, is trying to take you on as a client. Tell me, where does that come from? Like, what is your experience that caused you to ask that? Because I've been in business for, I don't know how long you've been in business, 2 years, and have, and then go into some of the stuff that Kurt had just said about working with, one of the top agency groups in the world, and that you got to be spending a couple $1,000s a month just on, consultants and coaching and all that sort of stuff. So if you throw them back on their heels and make them explain to you what that pain point is that made him say that in the first place, I think it'll give you a better positioning for how you respond to it.
But you're exactly right. He said that that's what he led with. He said he's been burned by 2 agencies in the past.
There you go. So then you ask him, hey, is your wife the first girl you ever kissed?
That's my favorite line. Have you ever heard Nick and I ever say this one?
Yep, I heard that.
No, seriously, ask him that question.
Oh, that's
is your wife the first place? Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
You got to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince, right?
Yeah, that's true.
sorry you went through that, but I'm not a frog, right?
The funny thing is he led, because he's a relationship therapist, he led with that too. He said, I tell my clients to fall in love completely every time. And then he's like, and then he just didn't do that or didn't.
I don't know. With a relationships coach, here's exactly the language. This is where I got it from.
Okay.
Hey, did you date, the first person you date, did you end up marrying? No. Okay. All right. And then they kind of sit there for a second. Look, I can't be held accountable for your past relationships. That's not me.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just pause. I use this in my own relationships. I've used this in other types of relationships, and especially with clients who do that. Hey, did you marry the first person you ever dated? Nope. Yeah, I can't be held accountable for the past relationships you had. That's not me. That's someone else, but that's not me.
Okay. I'll try that then.
There's also the kind of the positioning on yourself on the same side of the table and making those other people bad, right?
Okay.
So kind of polarizing, against the people. So I don't know if you've helped any clients that have had bad experiences in the past with, newbie agencies,
Mm-hmm.
but if you can use those as kind of a case study that you're presenting to him and say, oh yeah, I had to take over this client's account that, they bought into that whole buy 10,000 fans from India crap that, all these so-called gurus are pitching, and here's how I had to fix it. And, that way you're pitting the crappy stuff. It's you understand that you feel their pain, and now you're on the same side of the table like Kurt had said.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's really helpful. Thank you. I will try to use those. Okay, cool. So, sorry, keep going.
Just to wrap that up, one of the things is when you have that second call, I know exactly what you're talking about, kind of the anxiousness of I got to justify myself to someone, right?
Yeah.
The main thing is just show up. And then I like to, you can edify yourself for just a minute when you get on the phone. Hey, I just know we wanted to chat. Just a little background on myself. I've been doing this for the last couple of years. Plugged into one of the world's largest support groups. So I have amazing support from all around the world. So I know when something breaks, when something happens. And I just, I'd love to answer any questions that you have on how I could possibly assist. And then let them ask you a couple of different questions. But the great thing is at the end of the day, just to kind of wrap up this last one is remember, you have this special talent that you really, really, really have to exploit and tell clients. It's have you ever read the book Think and Grow Rich?
I feel like a long time ago, yes.
A long time ago. Yeah, there's an old story about Henry Ford, where he's on trial for being incompetent. You heard this story before?
No.
And basically what he's doing is he's sitting in this courtroom and they're trying to prove that he's incompetent. And the prosecutor or attorney or whatever is like, what year was the Civil War? He's like, I don't know. Well, what year did America find its independence? What year did, the American Revolution happen? And he just didn't know the answers to any of these questions. And the prosecutors or the attorney's like, you can't even answer these basic questions. You're clearly incompetent. And Henry Ford's like, no, I have this black box on my desk, has buttons on them. So when I hear a question that I don't know, I push a button and the right corresponding button goes to the right person who knows the answer to that question. I don't need to know all these questions. I just need to know the right button to hit to talk to the right person. You have access to this little black box to any time that there's a question or a problem or this really weird, unique solution. You're in a group that's probably already seen it before. And that is hands down more valuable than having 2 or 3 or 20 people on staff, just because that insight's invaluable and you only have to pay one small fee for it. No one's charging you for extra information and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's your huge differentiator, right? Hey, look, if we run into anything, man, I got these people behind me that we all gone through the same process. They're brilliant and they're from all over the world. And they can help answer some questions or troubleshoot if we ever have problems along the way. Oh, and one last thing that popped into my mind. When you do you do an onboarding fee and then month-to-month fee? Do you sign people up for a 3-month fee? How do you do that? I'm just curious.
I used to do that, and now since I worked with you, I've changed it to $2,500 for the onboarding month, and then usually I try to pitch $2,000 for the months after, month to month only though. And sometimes if I feel like they're lower on money, I'll pitch them $1,500 for the month, but still always $2,500 for the first month.
Cool. In my opinion, I'd always do $2,500 and then just stick with your $2,000. The difference between $1,500 and $2,000 is nothing. It's really not. It just is in your own mind. There's no, trust me. I used to charge $1,500 and Nick told me to charge $2,000. And then I charged $2,000 and Nick told me to charge $4,000. And then I'm like, I think you're crazy. And then we charged $4,000. And Nick said I needed to charge $5,000 and then we charged $5,000. And no one ever has complained about the prices.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll do that.
I know. I just did it in my own head. Because remember, is at the end of the day, one last frame, then I want to answer your question. One last thing is remember, we tend to forget as advertisers, and I want to talk about this more and more and more and more. Our responsibility of advertisers is not to double, triple, or quadruple someone's business tomorrow. Our responsibility of advertisers is to bring brand new, qualified, cold people who've never heard of the brand or business to buy in and become a customer. And once they become a customer, it's completely up to the clients, for them to fulfill on their product and service and to sell them additional products and services. But our responsibility is front end acquisition. So if you take your fee of $2,000 a month plus ad spend of $2,000 a month at $4,000, almost any other business, what else would someone apply $4,000 a month to start acquiring trackable new customers?
Yeah.
It's not TV. It's not radio. It's not newspaper. So don't think what my problem is I think I have to justify my cost, and I continually have to remind myself, wait a minute, my cost, your cost is much cheaper than an employee, right?
So true.
Much cheaper than an employee.
Yeah, that's so true.
You have the resources behind you and everything else. So like one of my big ahas when I was talking to Mike Dillard, and I'm like, Mike, this is just my belief system. I can't charge you $15,000 a month as a service fee. Mm-hmm. I know some people do that, but Mike, I know you spend under $50,000 a month. So if I take my $15,000 fee plus $50,000 a month at $65,000, you're not making $65,000 worth of sales a month. Mm-hmm. I can't justify that. And I'll never forget Mike's response. He goes, oh, it's my responsibility for the revenue. You have employees and a structure I figured that you have to pay for. So it's my responsibility to hit the revenue. Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
And I'm limiting my self-beliefs because I'm like, hey, with us, $5,000 in, to start, and $5,000 a test, they're 10 grand in.
Mm-hmm.
And once I start saying 10 grand in for a lot of business owners, it's interesting because they're like, okay, some people are like, hey, it's new, I'm new, I still got to start out, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, what ends up happening is if you're really just looking at that front end acquisition, again, there's nothing else for $4,000 a month. And again, just at a low spot,
Mm-hmm.
2,000 from you, 2,000 in an ad spend.
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 months later, like it's, I don't know, just to wrap the whole thing up at the end of the day is you just tell them you don't have any risk. Hey, I got a big support group. We'll have this $2,500 onboarding. If at any time you're unhappy, we can stop at any time, but I'm responsible, for your front end acquisition.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. I've got promise. They're relationship coaches. Hey, if I give you an introduction to somebody and they sign up, I assume that they're in with you for the long term because that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's your closing line.
Yeah, that's
the relationship coaches. Once I make you the introduction, I'm sure that you can close them and they're going to love you for life. So even if we break even on their first sale, your relationship coaches, you're going to make so much money on the back end because you're great at relationship coaching, right?
That's true. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Next subject.
No problem. That's great. Okay. So the next thing is I'm having one of my clients that first month working with her, and I'm noticing, well, actually almost 6 weeks now, but she's difficult to work with. She's boosting
Boost
her
post.
What?
I saw that. I was going to respond to that, boosting your own post. So,
Yeah.
okay. There were some clarifying questions in the post. I thought this was great. Now, is she boosting the post inside of your ad account you're managing?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the ad account that I share with her. Like I have access to it, and she does.
Okay. Totally cool. Now, when she does a boost post, she has some crazy belief system. Totally cool. But do you have any idea what her methodology is? Is it every post she posts for $15? What's her methodology?
She said to me before she always boosted 2 to 3 times a week on her own, and that when she started working with me, I would do it. Obviously, I told her that it's easier for one person to do it.
Right.
And then she has a really low budget. She's at $1,500 a month, and she wants bookings. So I said to her, it's best right now if we can kind of flood your warm market, get as many optimizations as we can there in terms of bookings and messaging. And I guess the problem is I've emailed this to her too, and she just doesn't answer and then just does what she wants. And that's kind of, I don't know what to think.
Oh, it's easy what to think. These silly humans. Again, I'll say it over and over and over. I'm at this NBA conference, and we're at this table, and we're having this speech, and it's at the NBA, it's the owners of these D-League teams. They're like, Kurt, what's the number one biggest problem clients face? And I'm like, easy, clients. They're like, that's the question. I'm like, that is the answer. They are always in their own damn way. That is the problem. They just don't get it. So a couple of things here is, first of all, is I don't mind when clients boost posts. I actually prefer if they don't for a couple of reasons, but let's talk about the thing that I like about it.
Okay.
Now, if I set up a hot 30 audience, let's call it a hot 28, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and set up a hot 28. And when I set up that hot 28, I'm going to tell the client, hey, look, if you got a Facebook Live or you got something special that you want to post, as long as we're within rules and regulations, it's cool. But just keep in mind, one post can shut down an entire ad account. So if we're not posting anything risky, that's cool. So people respond to fear. I learned this from our brain scientist at our last event that we did, is what happens is when fear starts to happen, logic starts to shut down.
Okay.
So the first thing that I do is I warn them. I play this manipulation game called fear. Hey, look, totally cool. If you've always boost posts in your past, not a problem. As we're increasing ad spend, keep in mind, we want to make sure that we're not in violation. So as long as you feel that you know the terms of use and you don't have any problems, so we don't get any disapprovals, that's fine.
Okay.
I don't typically, we just got to make sure that you are clear so we don't get an ad account shut down.
Okay.
Number one. Now, the second thing is I set up that hot 28 audience, right? So I tell the client, I'm like, hey, look, when you go to boost a post, select audiences and select hot 28. You'll do us both a favor because you'll start doing your boost post inside of that audience.
Okay.
Because the question that I have now is when she does a boost post, I'm curious of what audience she's pointing it to.
I checked and it was just in the UK, just with a certain age group of people, which is frustrating because I'm running ads to the 5 top countries like Australia, Canada, US, UK.
So with Boost, I'm trying to think with Boost Post manually from the page. So I wonder if, so mentally, here's what I'm going through, is that her comfort level is she hits Boost Post because she sees something happen. She doesn't know what happens, but she sees something. My guess is when she hits Boost Post, I almost wonder if it's set up literally on the default targeting of like UK 1865 male female.
Mm-hmm.
And because she has it set up so a wide target, she gets a bunch of really cheap clicks and engagement real quick, and she's like, "Hey, Sarah, see this ad? Every time I do a Boost Post, it seems to help." So she sees activity, but it's not helping.
Oh, so she's boosting it to people who like your page, and she has like 4.5K people who like her page.
So what you would like to do is basically say, "Hey, look, I noticed that you're boosting your post. Totally cool. Hey, I've created a new audience for you called the Hot 28.
Okay.
Much more relevant than your likes. So your likes are good, but you've heard my speech on this. Your likes could have liked your page yesterday or 2 years from now."
Okay.
So what I have found personally, if a client wants to feel, sometimes they have to feel like they control something. So I'm like, okay, here's your baseball, little kid. Go play with your baseball, right? Whatever. So what I'll do is if they're like, I believe that I can really help with Boost Posts. Okay, I'm happy to take that over. I know, but I can do it on my own. Okay, great. So here's what we're going to do is I'm still going to do my regular Boost Post when I find the right post. I'm going to still do my thing. I could really care less what they do, right? With their reason. The second thing I'm going to tell the client is, okay, you do your Boost Posts, right? All the ones that you want to do, you do your Boost Posts, but don't target your likes. So you got to select this audience. I make a little Jing video for them. Here's how you select the Hot 28. And then just give them some guidance. Say, hey, what I found from research, I'm not even looking at stuff, doesn't matter. What I found from research is if you do a Boost Post for 5 days for $25 or for 5 days for $5, that's good enough, right? Just see what she does. $3, like what does she do now? 3 days for $25, something like that, or $15.
Yep, it was like 2 days actually for $20.
God, she's even worse. It should always be a minimum of 3 days. Right? It should never be 2. It should always be a minimum of 3, preferably 5.
Oh, okay.
Make sure I always tell clients, hey, look, the algorithm doesn't really understand the first day. Second day, it's really starting to learn. The third day is it's really starting to chug along.
Okay.
So for this to really work, what you basically do is say, hey, look, you hired me to give you some really good pointers and to help you out. And I noticed a couple of places that were really missing. I can see that you do these Boost Posts. That's great. The first thing is I noticed you targeted your likes. Now, I've created an audience that's hotter than your likes. That's the first thing, because we want to make sure that we're targeting the right audience. Now, the second thing that I can see that we're not targeting the right audience is the length of the time the post is up. Organically, the post is going to be up for about 2 or 3 days, and they're going to see an organic boost. And that's what she's looking for is after 2 or 3 days, or within the 2 or 3 days, to do a post so it looks like she has a bunch of activity right away.
Okay.
But the thing is, what we want to do is we want to extend that activity. So organically, what's going to happen is if a post does well or really well, it'll last 2 or 3 days. So if we do a Boost Post for that same time period within those 2 days, right, it's going to last 2 or 3 days, and we're basically boosting it, let's say day 1 and day 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather be boosting it for 5 days, whether it's $3 a day, $5 a day, whatever their dang budget is, right?
Okay.
But for 5 days, because your organic is only going to stretch for a couple, now we're going to double that organic stretch. You'll be able to see over 5 days if this is a post that you want to extend for middle of funnel or to duplicate the ads for $1 a day.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, so let them do their deal.
I think she's getting frustrated because she told me at the beginning she's got a super engaged, warm audience, and I'm putting out a bunch of ads to her bottom of funnel within reason because her budget is so low, and she's not getting bookings. We've now run about $250 in ads to the bottom so that people will book a call with her, and she's gotten one booking. And she's gotten 349 visits to her landing page for 65 cents each, which I think is incredible, but no one's booking. So I sent her an email saying she needs to work on that landing page.
Yeah. Again, we talk about this over and over and over.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 offers don't work. Right? But it's almost kind of like we as artists are kind of like, look at my masterpiece. Who wrote the copy? I did. You copywriter? No. Who designed your sales page? I did. You sales page designer? No. Have you designed over 100 offers? No. You see my pretty copy, Daddy? Look, I colored within the lines. It should sell. It doesn't really work that way, right?
Yes.
So what happens is that's why we have to talk about our ugly babies. Where literally it kind of comes down to it's like, hey, look, this. By the way, this is. You'll hear me say this a lot. It's always the client's fault. Right? Almost always. So I go back to the client and I'm like, all right, great. Is this a proven offer? Like you run this cold market as a proven offer? Yeah, my friends and family have signed up for it. Okay. So very different cold offer, not a problem. So we've tried this hook. Now, let's go back to the logic. Just like the exact response I wrote to you about people not showing up for the call. Right? Where literally like, okay, let's go back to the targeting.
Yeah.
Here's who we're targeting. Okay, can we all agree that this is the right targeting? Okay, great. Here's the ad creative. Here's the long form post. Here's the video. Can we both agree that the targeting, the video is right on? All right. Now we've seen people from this targeting, look at this creative, watch this video, click on it, go to the website. See that? Will we be aligned that this is all together? So why do you think they're not buying? And now it's up for the client to kind of decide because you sent traffic over there. All you're doing is I remind clients, hey, look, I'm just buying you math and facts. I don't get emotional with this. And quite honestly, one of the great reasons that Nick and I have been in business for 10 years together, him and I have very few emotions. I'm a lot more emotional than he is. He has very little emotion. It's just all math and facts.
Okay. That's so true.
Right? So you're just basically like, hey, look, I'm going to be sensitive of your budget. Now I have a couple of different options. I've sent about 100 people back to your site. Now, I can continue to send people back to your site, or we can change the offer. The more that I test, the more expensive that it gets. Would you like me to continue to spend, or would you like to adjust the offer?
Okay. And at that stage, do you think with 349 page visits, it would be a good time to say that?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, at 100, I'm like, I'm just going to raise my hand and be like, I'm going to watch this closely. At 200, I'm going to be like, let's just say, because I saw Brandon pop on the phone, I'd be like, hey, Brandon, dude, I just got to let you know, at $1 a click, we spent $200. I don't see one appointment yet. Again, let's look at the audience. Let's look at the creative. We all aligned? Yep. All right. All right. Hey, we're at 350. So if you're cool getting $100 leads, doesn't sound like you are, we can continue down this path. Otherwise, what I would suggest that I would turn down ad spend to just, the little top of funnel content you have in middle of funnel, rework the offer, and then retarget those people to a new offer or a new way to, a new way for the booking, a new way to phrase it, I mean.
Okay. All right. This is super helpful as usual. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Easy peasy. Have a great day. And I know you have some other questions inside the group. I'll answer those here in just a little bit as well.
Okay, fine. Thank you. No pressure. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye.
Okay, you too. Bye.
All right. Come on. I don't have a theme song for Brandon. Sorry.
Whoa.
I'm offended. I don't get a theme song, Nick.
Well,
Brandon. Oh, Brandon.
yeah, I don't know.
Where did Brandon go? There's Brandon rocking over there. He is. How's that?
Okay, cool. Now I'm happy.
You're like, wow, can we move on now?
Yeah. That's funny. How you guys doing?
Good.
Amazing. How are you?
Good. Did I hear there's like a big storm coming through Austin, or is that old? I think somebody told me.
Cat's in the way. I don't know. I do see the clouds moving pretty big.
Yeah.
I don't know. My weather report is awesome. Literally, I'm like, let me go stand on the balcony. Look to the left, look to the right. I think we're good for today. Yeah, looks like there's some rain.
Right on. Cool.
So what's the Brandon up to?
Not much. Just been working.
What to kind of wrap up, the investor. Did you make a decision, talk to the investor? Any additional thoughts on closing that loop?
No, I haven't talked to him yet. Still kind of thinking about it and how I would even approach it. And if I really want to, just kind of thinking through what we talked about last week. Do I really want to owe somebody or be responsible to somebody else? And, what happens if, things don't go right? He's got a piece of my company. Just kind of running through those things in my head.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if there's another way to structure where he doesn't get equity and just do it but then you're looking at debt. So, I don't know that I really want to do it, and kind of just going through ways to still raise the capital, kind of like we talked about, or running, get a quick chunk of cash from a training or something like that. So, and that I can really, get some people in here. I have 2 interviews on Friday.
Nice.
Yeah, for an ads assistant. One of them has experience and one of them has absolutely no experience. Yeah, she's fresh out of college, but has an interest in marketing and stuff like that. But she's not like an entrepreneurial type. So I thought, for what I need, basically just somebody to do the busy work. I kind of want to talk to you about that. Is that something a path I should even go down?
That's why I got Ashley.
Yeah.
That's why I got Ashley. And I mean, Nick knows this too, so it's very open. Like, doesn't mean we always have work for her to do, but she's been with us for a good long time. Like, it's really important we talked about this before, the biggest thing that you're going to have, your 2 biggest expenses are going to be hiring and training. So it's really spending time and finding that right person. So I don't really like, as much, for me, my personal opinion, is interns. It's because they're in and out and people are like, hey, I can get free labor. Totally cool. But I want to have someone that I can trust and rely upon that wants to grow with me. We're really fortunate to be able to work with my brother's business in Nebraska because most of his employees have been with him 4, 5, 6 years. So if I mentioned before, if I had to start all over with the agency and I was looking to hire people, I thought it was going to the internet marketing part. And like I said, finding entrepreneurs. And as I told you that story, not necessarily. What I'm interested in is if someone's looking just to learn some skills, they're interested in working for a small startup marketing company. And this is more than, hey, I'm only going to be here for 6 months. Ryan Lebeck likes to say, hey, here's my plan for the next year. If you can hook your wagon for the next year, I'd like to have a really good conversation with you. And then the other thing is in my opinion, the stuff to the side, I got some really great advice before I hired Ashley, which was, seriously, like, spend your entire week and everything you do during the day, just write it down on a notepad. Oh yeah, I did this, check this, did that, and then start batching it. Oh, okay, between this time and this time, I realized I was doing A, B, C, and D. This is something I can have them write out the process this is for, and they can just duplicate it. Like, any monkey can do this. But don't figure that out once you hire them. Spend the time doing that. And if you can find a confidant that takes care of your bread and butter stuff, like for me, I don't know why, I just have a mental block on this. Scheduling appointments, going back and forth, 8 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, what time zone? Ashley does all that stuff. Booking travel, she's been helping a bunch with that. But setting up calls, making sure that the Zoom's out there, and just some other things, like, it's just bread and butter that we can count on and hold her accountable for.
Right.
So that helps a ton. That person can be anybody. Ashley just had experience dealing with outdoor salespeople who I know typically are drug addicts and kind of crazy anyway. So I figured I should probably do pretty well with us, right? And Oh, by the way, Nick, I don't think we ever told you this. Nick, did you hear about the adventure that I took Brandon on to Ashley's party?
Oh,
No.
God.
Oh, hang on. Hold the phone. So I told Brandon, I'm like, oh, hey, by the way, check this out. I go, hey, Ashley's having this going away party, so we're going to go to this, like, going away party she's having. Like, okay, that's cool. And I go, they're a bunch of hippies. Like, I mean, I don't know how to describe, but like, you're going to see a shitload of hippies. And he's like, oh, okay. We walk in, and then there's Henry's sister, is now his brother, and she's over there doing a tarot card reading underneath a copper triangle, and a bunch of people have their shirts off doing interpretive dance. And as they're doing interpretive dance, there's some people rolling around in glitter. And so, Brandon, what'd you think?
Yeah, it was interesting. As soon as we walk in, Peter Hewlett runs across the floor, with no shirt on and skin tight spandex pants covered in glitter, dancing around like a fairy. I'm like, oh my God, where the hell are we?
And now Brandon wants to move to Austin.
Right. That's not why.
Oh, by the way, Nick, I didn't tell you this. Howie came up to me. I saw him at Ashley's event.
Oh, yeah?
He came up and gave me a hug and almost started crying and says, thank you very much for helping change my life. You always said I was powerful. You got me watching motivational videos. You really helped change my life. And then I think he was on drugs because he said that about 4 or 5 times. And then he hugged me like 3 times, and Howie doesn't hug anybody. So I'm like, I'm going to go stand over there. I told Brandon later, I'm like, that was a little weird, but whatever.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kurt, do you remember Matt and Joe had referenced a site that they use? I know you said beware the intern thing, but there was a site, I looked into it a couple weeks ago, and it looked pretty cool, where you can hire an intern or kind of a test drive for free for a month or 2, and then you can decide whether or not to hire them full time. Now, it wasn't necessarily like task stuff, but it was a lot of social deals, and I can't remember. I'll have to ask them the name. I didn't know if you'd remember off the top of your head.
No, do it. So basically, to kind of to close that loop is, if you can find a good trusted confidant that can handle a whole bunch of your other bullshit that you can train anybody to do, great. You just make them. The most critical thing is you write down the list to figure out what you're doing first. Second thing is you're going to give them a list that they're going to write process and procedures, right? So step by step, paint by colors. Because they'll learn what to do about their job as they're writing out their job description and what their task list is, right? Like on Mondays, we're going to do A, B, and E. Here's the procedures. Like when we first hired Ashley, the only thing she did was basically write out procedures because she was essentially teaching herself.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, like training. I mean, because the only type of employees I've ever trained are salespeople, but I would just hand them a script and then watch them on the phone and coach them that way as they're on the phone. So hiring somebody to run ads or do creative and stuff like that, I mean, getting all that stuff done, I mean, that's kind of where I'm like, oh shit, they're going to show up here, and how does that even work? You know what I mean?
So the first thing is I'd hire kind of an assistant to help offload any kind of shit that maybe only 10 or 15 hours a week. And, a great place for that is hiremymom.com. It's not a porn site. Trust me. You can go there. It's fine. Right. But so I like that, offload some of those tasks. I don't know what those tasks are that take up a bunch of your time, but as you write them down, figure that out. Now, the second thing is what John Belcher likes to use is he likes to find people who just do creative. So he put that out. He's like, hey, he's looking for not a creative director, but he's looking for somebody who's going to work part-time to produce Facebook ad creatives. And their background's typically A, B, and C. So it's a different department that he schedules stuff out with.
Right.
So it could be a person working part-time. So now it's compartmentalized. You have somebody handling all your stuff, your assistant. You have somebody who does the graphics. I don't know what takes you the most time, but my brother has someone write the copy. Mm-hmm. So like, for example, they're looking for, and this is what we had the guy, Howie, that I saw at Ashley's event, is essentially what we would do is they would write 5 headlines and 5 body and 5 descriptions.
Okay.
So we find, that could be a journalist, that could be somebody who's learning to write copy, and just compartmentalize it, right?
Yeah.
because we really are unique, and we just got to remember that, especially if you really like running ads. Like, I love to do this thing called PowerPoint screenshot. Nick laughs every time I say it. Throw it up into an ad, write some shitty copy that honestly is misspelled and written like a third grader, and I start seeing results. And then I love looking over the numbers. But most people don't like all those different personality types and roll them into one. And it's hard to hire for that. We found that very difficult in our agency.
Okay.
So if you find someone like Howie, all Howie did is we're like, hey, Howie, here's the program. Here's what we're doing. We would have a campaign kickoff. We'd say, okay, we need 5 lines of copy. You take care of the copy. Okay, you take care of the graphics. You're going to go to Canva or source this. So for you, in my opinion, this is what my brother's done for a good long while. Shit, I think it bought him an extra 2 years with us. He would literally copy and paste what the copywriter wrote and what the graphics person did. So all he was doing is uploading ads, which didn't hardly take any time, right? In his opinion, and I like this, he would copy and paste and upload the ads because that was his quality assurance process. And he just likes uploading ads, right? So for us, we'd say every Tuesday and Thursday, we upload ads for clients. He schedules out a couple of hours, and it's just upload, and it's all run from there.
Okay.
Now, once the ads are uploaded, you can train that hiremymom.com to just pull some general reports for you. Lots of secretaries, people who have done lots of admin work. There's really no such thing as a secretary anymore, let's be honest. Right? But a bunch of Excel admin work. So if you just show them how to log into Facebook, how to pull the exact report, like I'd set up the golden ad report. Now you have somebody who does copy, somebody who does graphics, second person, someone who does your bullshit work, right? It's your third person. You can upload, and then someone who just gives you the data the way you want to look at it. And then in my decision, then you're just making decisions. So you're uploading ads, and you could train your assistant to do that. It's just a quality assurance process, right? Like you know all the buttons and all that other stuff, and it's easier for you to do it. In my opinion, when you want to step out of the copy paste upload, hire someone who's already done a bunch of ads before. They're just looking to do better. And it's basically like, hey, dude, here, hold my beer. I got this shit. Versus, hey, show me step by step what to do.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that kind of gives me some more clarity on who I should hire. So, and somebody, and she could probably do, the one who has no experience but has interesting, I can get her to do the busy work. And then, I mean, I use Ad Zombies every once in a while, and they'll write ads, so I can sign up for their agency thing, and they can just, then I think you get unlimited ads with them.
There you go.
And then I can just review them and upload them, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So for somebody like that who's fresh out of college, I mean, would 40? Do you think I put them on a salary or an hourly? I mean, do I have them part time?
See, my problem is I've never been married. So besides being in a business partnership with Nick, I like little to no commitment, right? Heck, I might be in a relationship. I don't even like that commitment.
Yeah, that was a little awkward at lunch the day I left.
Why? She shows up and she's just grumpy?
Yeah, it tells you to fire Ashley and to hire her. And then you offer her a job and she says no.
So Nick, Christina's like, I really want to help host these events. And I'm like, we argue all the time. I can fire Ashley. She's like, you'd never fire Ashley. And I'm like, but I can bitch at her and she doesn't talk back to me. She's like, I don't understand. You need to have me do this. And I'm like, there's already, and you know how women like this when I say, you already have a place. Oh, that went over really well. Yeah. So, yeah, well, whatever. So anyway, anyhow, so one of the things I like to do, when I look back, and again, this is just my story and my situation. When I'm looking right now at my place that I'm at, as at the tower that we used to be underneath in our basement office, and we had 12, 13 employees, whatever, and we're paying $40,000, $50,000 a month in payroll, and we're really hitting it. Like, it's really great. And then again, when I get sued by Facebook, net, I live in a fancy apartment. Nick lives in the Bridges Estates. And we make more money net in our pockets than we ever did before. And I think a lot of that really does come through a lot of the services that you're talking about now. So you got ad zombies that can help crank out a bunch of copy. Okay, that's cool. You got somebody who can handle all your appointments and setting stuff up. That could literally be 20 hours a week out of college, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I would figure out and do something along the lines of, and maybe Nick can help on this because I'm horrible at this stuff. Like, they have Upwork, right? And which used to be Odesk.
Right.
So like Upwork, for example, you find a college kid and I'm like, hey, look, or I pay them PayPal because they can send me an invoice because PayPal is going to 1099 them at the end of the year. I don't have to. Okay. So if I don't hire salary, I don't have to deal with taxes, insurance, none of that shit. So what I basically do is I'm like, hey, look, I have two options. Either, hey, I'll pay you hourly. We're going to come in for this many hours. You're going to do A, B, C, and D, right? And you get this much per hour. That's what I would do because the work's going to fluctuate. You never really know. Right? And then maybe if you get to the point, you can say, hey, I'll guarantee you $500 a week because we're going to do all these different tasks. But I would just do hourly as you're figuring shit out. And it would be like at 10 to 15 hours a week. Because the very first person that you're going to have come in, they're going to start documenting all these processes because you don't have any.
Right. Okay.
Make sure you consult your CPA. Let's just caveat all that, because if you hire somebody and you're paying them a salary or even hourly, and you are their only employer, so to speak, then you may be on the hook for payroll taxes.
Yeah, in California you are, unless you can prove that they have other income.
Yeah.
So
that's why
it's the same. It's the same here, but Ashley has other clients.
Right.
She has her own business, so we are kind of more safer
there. Yeah.
So perfect example, Steve. Steve has an employee who basically has taken over his upload job because she lives in Nebraska in this small town of like 400 people, has a digital product course on how to do photography, and she just looks for some steady income. But she doesn't want to work more than 20 hours a week. She's the person of, hey, here, hold my beer, I got this. You want to run ads? Oh, you got creative and everything else, and now I just have to fine tune them? Oh, that's great. But now if we go back over what we just talked about, you have someone who starts off at 15, I'll just say $15 an hour. You run them through PayPal, you run them through Upwork. Now they take care of all the taxes, they take care of all that shit. You're not responsible for it at all. They're a contractor, right? And then you start piecemealing the stuff together that you were talking about with ad zombies.
Right.
I mean, you're really freeing up a bunch of your time, and you have a couple of people, very limited part-time contractor basis. They're responsible for taxes until you see some really good consistent income, consistent clients that you may want to bring somebody on full-time and be responsible for all the payroll shit. I don't know about Nick, but I never looked at payroll shit. I didn't understand it. We had to outsource it. That was our old business partner. Our old business partner would forget to hit a button on Friday and no one would get their paycheck that day. When people don't get their paychecks, they're all fucking pissed off. So then he'd buy cookies for everybody. And I'm like, dude, not pay rent, but get cookies. Just fucking hit the button every fucking week. So, Nick, I don't know about you, but I don't miss that experience at all.
No, not at all.
I didn't finish my sentence. Nick's like, nope, not at all.
Okay, cool. So I got to have a conversation with thank you for that. I got to have a conversation with a client. He hasn't paid in 2 months. I've kept ads running, but all I'm running is just content and really haven't done much in it. And he wants me to run a campaign for his app, but he can't pay. And I feel like I owe him at least to do that one broadcast out, but then cut it off from there. And I'm just trying to kind of navigate how to have that conversation with him, because I like the guy a lot and I want to see him succeed. I understand he's struggling, and I'm a lot like you where, I have a hard time telling people to pay me because I like it, especially when I like them. So just trying to figure out how I can navigate that without blowing it for the long term if he does get money, because I do like working with him.
He's not going to get any money in the long term, or he may. So basically, here's what happens, right? Laws of probability. It's totally cool. I have to think about this myself. I don't know anybody's shit, right? Except Nick, because I owe him some money so he can buy his kids some shoes. That's very important. But other than that, I don't know anybody's shit, right? So the first thing I start thinking about is, okay, is the billable the first of the month?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I send out his invoice on the 15th.
And then typically when you send out invoices, do you send out invoices and clients paying right away? Like, hey, look, today is the 15th. This is going to bill from the 15th from now until next month on the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you 30 days or are you 30 days?
Yeah, it's every 30 days, so I send out invoices on the 1st and the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And then his specifically is due on the 26th. So I always
send it on the 15th.
Yeah, exactly. From the 15th to the 26th, he needs to pay, and that covers him till the next, basically to the next 26. So every 30 days, if that makes sense.
So he is prepaying you for the month.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Okay, so he's prepaying you for the month, and he has not paid April or May. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so we just hit the second month no pay, right?
Right.
And how much you charge every month?
And I sent out a third invoice for this following month. So,
of course.
I mean, technically he owes almost 10 grand.
Okay. Now, are all of his ads off?
I turned everything off. Yeah.
Okay, so ads are all off. What niche is he in?
He's a health coach.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. So all ads are off. Totally makes sense. He's a little late. So when you're like, hey man, we got to kind of settle this up, is he like, hey, things have just been really tight, I'm one deal away? What does he communicate with you?
Yeah, that he's waiting for an investor, but that he's got to get people to sign up for his app first to show traction, and then he can pay me. And every time I've talked to him, that's been the story. Oh, I'll pay you this week. I got money coming in. Nothing happens. So, I mean, I'm at the point now where...
What I hear you saying, just as an outside perspective, is as you raise the money with investors, I mean, that obviously just doesn't happen overnight, right? It's relationship, shake hands, blah, blah, blah. And as an app, as you're looking for a bunch of downloads at first to show that your app's adaptable, that investors would even want it in the first place, right?
Right.
So what I hear you saying, just to be very direct, is, I mean, sounds like this guy's still hoping on a prayer that he's going to get a whole bunch of downloads and that money's going to flow in. Doesn't sound like what I start to think about, because again, this is just my personal life lesson, is did he do a shit ton of market research in this app?
No, he built this thing on a whim, and honestly, it's shit. I don't think anybody can buy it.
Then that's the big thing you got to think about. And again, I told a story when I was in Fiji of a guy with a vitamin patch that we had. Love the story. Shit, no market research. Oh my goodness, not market tested. Oh, he ain't gonna get any more money. Like, let's just be direct. Like, he's not gonna get any more money. He's not gonna get an investor. So now the point kind of comes down to, it's like, okay, now you're really doing the dude a favor, right? Because really, if we're going to talk about man to man, right? Let's talk about this macho. If we're going to talk man to man, he really fucked you because he didn't do his research. And now he continues to fuck you because his business model's fucked. Not your business model, his business model. So you're continuing to get fucked by his business model. This is where I personally start to get really pissed, right? So what does he want you to do again? He wants you to send an email out, or he wants to send a ManyChat out?
Yeah, he wants me to build a flow for ManyChat for everybody in the bot to download it, and then his email list. So
how many people are in the bot? How many people are in the bot?
I think like 2,000.
And then how many people is on his email list?
Same. Yeah, everybody on the email list has come from the bot. He has a separate email list, but it's in Infusionsoft, and we don't touch it. I told him.
So he wants you. Mm-hmm. So what's the difference between sending out a broadcast or building out a sequence?
Nothing. I mean, I could build out the sequence really, or the broadcast flow really quick and just launch it. But just wondering, before I do that, just going into the conversation saying, "Hey, this is basically the last thing we're going to be doing until we can get settled up on our bill," or how to kind of navigate that conversation and say without, because his thing is like, "Oh, well, I paid you all this money and nothing happened."
Oh, no, 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 no.
Right.
No, Nick knows I love these fucking conversations. Dude, we got prepaid legal because of one of these conversations, right? So, and this is literally what I go back to. This is very important. This is why I asked the question. Again, this is, I say this over and over. This is my story. This is kind of a little reflection. But basically, we have this student who comes to us, kind of someone who's like yourself, right? They've taken our stuff, known them for a while, and they're basically like, "Hey, look, I'm working with this guy, good friend of mine from college, and basically his dad had this investing strategy 10 years ago. I know that's when the market was different, whatever, but basically I don't even know what the hook was, Brandon. If Nick, if you can remember what it was, I don't remember what the hell it was. Anywho, what ends up happening is they made money when the real estate market collapsed with a completely different offer, all on radio. The guy comes to me and I won't run it in the agency. I'm like, can't run this in the agency because you guys don't have a proven model. And the guy's like, okay. So I'm like, pay me $8,000 to coach you. And what the guy does is he leaves, plays it on radio, spends $15,000, and then comes back to me. "Kurt, I spent $15,000. I got 2 sales." Ooh, not quite sure why you did that. Completely up to you. Because he was rushing to get it, right? And I know exactly the position your guy's in because he was rushing to get it. Mm-hmm. And essentially what ends up happening is I'm like, all right, look, we're going to go through the onboarding process. We're going to start running ads. And he has this website. And I go, great, we got 500 people back to your website. You got to change the offer. So I go, you can either hire a high-end copywriter or you can have your friend who basically referred us to the account. He can write it. And this guy spent all weekend long rewriting because he stole someone else's sales page, borrowed it, whatever, rewrote this entire sales page. Come on, dude. He's not a copywriter. He just fucking got someone else's sales page and rewrote it. Like, he doesn't understand the psychological hooks or any of that shit, right? And again, most offers don't work unless they're market tested, right? So what ends up happening is now we're at the end of 3 months. Guys paid us $15,000, plus he paid $15,000 in radio, plus he paid $10,000, and he's literally on the phone fuming. "Kurt, I paid you all this fucking money, and you're going to waste our clients' money." And I can't remember. Some of this is over the phone, some of this is through email. But he's basically like, "You wasted all this money." No, I didn't waste this money at all. You did your market research. So let's go back to the very beginning. What was your market research specifically on this product? Kurt, that doesn't matter. I'm not the one who spent all of this money. This gets very costly without the proper research and the proper investments. Now, you're not a business owner, so you don't take on any of this risk. That's the big deal. So when you get on the phone with him and he's like, "Dude, we spent all this money." Hey, absolutely. I bought a bunch of data to tell you what works and what doesn't. So here's exactly what I would say. I bought a bunch of data that shows me what works and what doesn't. I'm really kind of curious because here's what I do with clients when we're in this situation. Let's talk about the market research that you did at the beginning of this project. And I want to take a look at that versus the people that we're targeting. And I want to kind of say, when you did the market research on this, what were some of the big things that people really wanted in the market versus the ads that we're running? Blank fucking stare because he didn't do any of that research.
Right.
When he says that, just say, "Look, dude, I've already taken on $10,000 worth of risk on something." You've got to say this. "I've taken on $10,000 risk on something that's unproven that you have not done the market research on. I'm going to be very open with you. I'm fucking scared shitless that I'm not going to get paid, and I am not an investor in your company. So either I get paid or there's nothing else more that I can do for you because I'm no longer going to go in a hole. I don't own your company."
Right. Okay.
It's a very direct conversation, but literally that's what it comes down to is when I'm like, "Oh shit, do my ads really suck?" Dude, what's your market research? Just like you said, you didn't do any. built this thing on a fucking shithole dream.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. The ads were absolutely perfect.
Of course they are,
Everything up until the purchase.
right. That's what it usually is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We're just telling them, we're like, hey, look, like, dude. So yeah, I mean, by the way, have we talked about prepaid legal before?
No, I have Legal Zoom. I don't know if that's similar. But
is it
Legal Zoom is contracts, I think.
Yeah, but you can consult with lawyers, but they don't do anything for you unless you pay them.
So real quick, and then thanks, Nick. I got your message. So here's what I would do: is sign up. Hey, Nick, you should get our link. Sign up for Prepaid Legal. It's actually a network marketing company, but who gives a shit about that?
If you find 3, Brandon,
and find three.
Do you have dreams?
By the way,
because I have dreams.
Matt, as you're listening onto this, I don't know if you know this trick, but listen onto this for just a second. So basically, what it is this. So because of the story that I just told you, Brandon, about the guy in the stock trading stuff, right? He's like, I'm going to come after you. You cost us $25,000. No, $25,000 was part of my fee. He fucked off everything else, right? But that doesn't matter in a court of law. So what you do is you sign up for prepaid legal. Now, prepaid legal, you're going to pay, I think, for what our agency, $67, $77 a month, whatever. It's going to give you a certain time with a legal representative that's close to your area. When we got sued by Facebook, should have been the first person we called because we would have got a much higher lawyer, blah, 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 blah. But here's what ends up happening. Let's just say that John Smith wants to sue you. Hey, screw that dude. I'm doing a chargeback and I'm going to sue his ass. Great. They're going to send you something that your lawyer has to reply back to. That's exactly what prepaid legal does, is they're going to reply back. And the fuckery basically comes to this. When Brandon's like, John Smith, I have 10 different questions for you, but I'm not going to send them to you on one piece of paper. There are going to be 10 different things that you have to process the request. So what happens is the attorney from prepaid legal processes each request separately, each question, sends it off to their legal team. The legal team has a fiduciary responsibility to respond to each request separately. It's their responsibility. So now this, what happens is after month 1, you paid $77. The other person could literally be facing $10, $20, $30,000 because their legal team has to take all the time to reply back to these 10 or 12 separate questions that you sent out. And unless someone has prepaid legal or very deep pockets, you just ask questions away and it goes away. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Send me the link. I'll do that. Cool. Thank you guys.
Cool,
hey, hang on one second. I'm gonna bring Matt on. Matt had that intern thing you might want to check out. I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
Hey, what's up, Matt?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Hey, quick question for you. A couple weeks ago, you mentioned a site. I think it was you, maybe Joe.
Yeah, it was.
A site you guys use that you can can test interns and then hire them if you want.
Yeah, it's called GenM. So it's GENM.co.
Okay, cool.
There you go, Brandon.
Yeah.
Check that out. I thought it was cool.
They're actually a sponsor of our podcast. So if you were to go to evergreenprofits.com/GenM, it's actually $10 per month off, I believe. But you don't have to use that link if you don't want.
Dude, I'm getting closed on affiliate links.
Hell yeah, affiliate marketing all day. Great.
What was the podcast? Evergreen what?
So if you go to evergreenprofits.com/GenM, GENM.
Okay.
That's the sign up link that they gave us for the podcast sponsorship.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Hey, thanks so much.
Brandon.
Appreciate your time. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
See you, brother. Take it easy.
There we be. All right. Thanks for jumping on early. We had thought we had something going on, and then it got moved to tomorrow. But
oh well, no worries.
We're gonna go scout our location for our live event. We're gonna book for our next 2 live events. Yeah, there's this place right on 6th Street. Most people don't even know that it's there, and it's an old architect used to own it. There's an indoor pool in this big area where like Jimmy Kimmel rents out during South by Southwest. So to play our cards right, I think we can fit maybe 30 people in there. Have 4 people stay there, film people, Ashley, Nick, and literally it's like we're going to cater everything. But if you want to, you literally step out the front door, bam! You can have any entertainment that you want. Step back in the front door. It's quiet, peaceful. You can have some business meetings. So.
Love it. Yeah, no, I've seen a bunch of the Jimmy Kimmels when he does it at South by Southwest. It's not the big like theater he does it in, right?
No. The theater he does it in is actually the Moody Theater where they have Austin City Limits. But the interesting thing is in this house, like I said, it's right on 6th Street. It's kind of just built into all the other commercial buildings. Is I was told, because I know the owner, that when Jimmy Kimmel stayed there, they changed out the Nick, what was it? Was it twice or 3 times a day? I think it was 3 times a day. They changed out all the furniture, colors, pictures, everything. Morning, noon, and night.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, how much money does that take just to change the color scheme and furniture every 4 hours?
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
That's fuck you money. So, hey, I'm seeing more and more of your ads. I saw an ad with James Schramko. I saw another ad come up, probably because I watched an ad more than 50%.
Nice. Yeah, the one with Schramko is actually a bottom of funnel. So you've been going down the rabbit hole. Because the Schramko one is just him giving us a testimonial for our course. So that one is him giving a testimonial, and then it links over to where you can buy the course.
That makes sense. That makes more sense. So tell me what you got going on.
Well, right now, I mean, I after our last call, I made some tweaks to my ads. I haven't really built out a whole lot of new stuff. I've just been kind of still optimizing. So we haven't done this in a while, so maybe I'll just share my screen and we can just kind of walk through the numbers again.
Sounds great.
Let's see here. That should do it. All right. So can you see what I'm looking at?
Yeah, now I can.
Cool. I actually just noticed this tab, this opportunities thing.
Whoa, never seen that before.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever noticed that tab there. Huh. I'll look at that later. Cool. So let's see. Where do we start? So I guess we'll start at the top of the funnel. The optimized conversions book funnel. We're paying about $5 a lead right now, which is not bad, but it's actually the price has gone up. So I think the what do you call it? The breakdown effect maybe happening a bit.
Yeah.
So that's starting to creep up. We were getting them at about $4 a lead, so we are seeing that go up a little bit. What do we got going here? So right now I have it set at 30 days. The last 30 days, it's gotten us 115 leads at $5. So there may be some things I can do to optimize and improve this. Let's see. Anything specific you want me to look at?
No. So you're running. What's the audience?
This is a cold audience. This is the top of funnel. So this one is
Gurus. Yeah, I would be looking at I'd look at updating your audience.
Okay. Alrighty. So maybe just duplicate this and then just swap it out. The other audience that I like to use a lot is like tools. So like Infusionsoft, Aweber.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Any of the tools I could think of. So I'll test that other audience top of funnel with that one. I don't know why this can't actually sort by the proper way. Let's see. This is my top of funnel video ads. These 3 are still going pretty strong. You can see the frequencies not getting out of hand at all.
Great.
And
for those a day. Ooh, $2 a day, big spender, big spender.
Oh yeah, this one's getting some pretty good
traction. Yeah,
good traction here. I mean, 147, 100% views. So what is that, like 33 cents a view or something like that? I don't know, 40 cents a view. So these are all still doing good top of funnel. I'll probably create that other audience for that one as well and duplicate it over, test that audience there as well. Let's see what we got. Oh, so that one, the one we were just looking at was optimized for engagement. This one is actually optimized for video views. Similar kind of thing, still low frequency. How we doing on these ones? So, pretty similar results, both under engagement and video view.
Yeah, looks good. You can always, you can always obviously find new audiences or increase spend a little bit. So all that stuff looks good.
Cool. All right. So that's the top of funnel. That's all seeming to do well. So top of funnel, let me just make a note of this. I'm going to actually create a new audience for top of funnel. Test that. All right. So middle of funnel, let's see, where do we want to start? So this one, I'm paying $6.53 per lead. This is the middle of funnel. What are we doing on this one? So this one's actually generating some sales or a sale. It generated a sale in the last 30 days, which is nice. But
what do you have for if you ran it for the last 90 days?
Let's see.
I'm just curious what that looks like.
What is 90 days ago? I'll just go February 1st to now.
Good enough.
So
Pretty sales for you. It's great.
Yeah. The cost per sale is a little high though. We only make about $300 per sale on this. So
I was looking at the add to cart versus sale. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
Okay. So overall, this one is actually losing money technically, but it's I'm optimizing for leads. I'm not optimizing for sales.
Right.
So yeah, the price has actually come down. It looks like, because over a 90-day window it was $7.26. Over a 30-day window it was $6. So this may actually be optimizing down still a little bit.
Nice.
What else do we got here? This one, so these are direct clicks over to like blog posts.
Mm-hmm.
How we doing on these?
Frequencies at 13. What do you have for the last 7 days? Frequencies 3. That's great. That's great.
Let's see here. I don't know if these have generated sales. A couple of these are affiliate products, so I won't see any conversion data, but actually here, let me pull out 30 days. So this one is our course sale. So this one, we actually have had one sale. So that one for $60, I got a $300 sale. So that's not bad. This one, the top one and the third one are both affiliate products. This one is promoting the same PAG product. So this one is not super effective at the moment. Let me look around some more here. And then we've got our optimized video view. And this is the one that I always seem to have issues with quality score on. So these are just all of the videos. Let's see. So the frequency is starting to get up over 2 for some of these videos.
Wow.
Let's see.
And that's just over the last, what do you have for the last 14 days, if we look at this?
Here, let me leave it there. Last 14 days.
Frequency's 10. Wow.
But then you can see over here, this is where I run into the issue. So the relevance score, my best one is a 6, and then everything is a 4 or lower beyond that.
So let's go into audience targeting and just check this out for a second.
So I did import my entire email list, added that in there. We've got all the hot 30, and then I narrowed this down to just these 6 countries. And then I narrowed down the age range a little bit. And then, yeah.
Okay, so email import, got that. Purchases, makes sense. Visitors time spent, the 5, 10, and 25. The same thing as hot 30 for the website visitors, 30 days. But that's all website visitors, so that makes sense. Hot 30, long videos, 95%, 95, 75, 50. If you click on the custom audience area,
The custom
where it
audience.
says add previously created custom audience, so click underneath where it says Hot 30 engaged Instagram. Click on that, and then click on where it says custom audience. What's all this stuff right here?
These are just let's see, custom audiences, various imports and things. Let's see. So this is my Thrivecart customer export. So anybody bought Thrivecart, I can actually import the list of customers. Actually, that's the website custom audience. PAG custom audience. All of my add to cart for different day ranges. Our sales page for our traffic course in different ranges. This is the podcast guest funnel. If we go on somebody else's podcast, we drive people to a specific page so we can see how effective being on other people's podcasts are.
Are you putting that in your Hot 7? Or in your Hot 30?
The podcast guest funnel, that would show up under all website visits. Because our pixel's there, and this is basically anybody that's pixeled, so it would be a part of it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what those are. That's so I can just break those out for future ads if I wanted to. We've got our books. This is people who purchased the book.
Now, is there any reasons to have any of your buyers on here as well? So they're already seeing your regular content?
I've got the Hot 30 purchases up here. So anybody who's bought in the last 30 days. And then I've got the email import, which would also include all of the customers.
True.
So I would imagine all of the customers do fall into this. They're not, broken out separately, but the email import, I literally exported the entire list, customers and leads. Let's take
a look at this real quick, if you don't mind. Hide this section or whatever with the button at the top left-hand side, so we can take a look at all your live ads. Yeah, go to filters for me. Let's just filter for only active ad sets. So ad set delivery, active. Yeah. All right. So let's take a look just at yesterday, if you don't mind, just pulling up the stats just for yesterday. So you reached 1,400 humans. So can we take a look at yesterday and the day before combined? You reached 1,400 humans versus 1,800 humans. So can we look at the last 3 days then? I wonder if it only adds another 400.
Yeah, it did.
So a couple of things. What I see here is your middle of funnel is growing at, 400 people a day?
Yeah, it seems like it, yeah.
Right? But you also have, will you click the checkbox that marks all checkboxes? It'll show me how many live ads are running. You've got 20 live ads running. So a couple of things to think about is you may want to consider either pausing some of these, maybe half of them, because the frequency is already pretty high, or add more traffic top of funnel.
Okay.
That's what I'm seeing, though. Is I'm seeing 400 people added regularly, and I'm seeing the relevancy score. I'm seeing the relevancy scores that could be lower because there is so much content middle of funnel, which is totally cool. But I don't think that there's enough top of funnel being added to support the content and spend middle of funnel.
Okay. So with top of funnel, there's plenty of things I can do. I can add in that other audience, and I can also up the budget. So
absolutely.
So I'll probably do both. I'll probably create a new audience, and then the one because the other ad that is running, my frequency is still low. There still seems like plenty of audience to go after there. So maybe I'll just up the budget there and then add in a second audience.
Absolutely. That would make sense.
Cool.
Yep, that would make sense.
So yeah, so maybe just that combination of things, adding more to the top of funnel, and then maybe trimming out some of the lower relevant score videos.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I would do.
Okay, cool. All right, that's easy enough. Let's see, what else do we got going on over here? Bottom of funnel is still pretty effective. Unfortunately, we're going to get screwed on Thrivecart here pretty soon because we're not going to be able to drive to our own landing page anymore because he's like changing a bunch of shit up. So we're still going to be able to drive traffic to it. I'm just not going to be able to track all the way through the conversion anymore.
Oh, he's moving the pixels and stuff.
Yeah. Well, basically, he's changing his pricing model, and he's not basically giving us our own version of the landing page like he has in the past. So he might eventually, but not immediately after the change. Let's see. But these ones are all still doing fairly decent. Our traffic course here in the last 30 days, we've had 5 sales at a cost of $162. We make $300 per sale. So, we're basically doubling up on our ad spend here. The Thrivecart one, so you can see we've got 7 sales on Thrivecart in the last 30 days at $128. We make $300 a sale on Thrivecart, so that one's profitable. So overall, let's see, we've spent in the last 30 days, what have I spent? Where is that number? So 38.85 total spent, and then total earned is, I don't know, more than that.
It's good. Making money is always good. Plus, you're getting leads more than anything else for your newsletter and everything else.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's an important thing.
And then I created this other campaign down in here, which is purely just retargeting people that have landed on these 2 pages. They're kind of out of the rest of that top, middle, bottom. These are just kind of like standalone. If you visited this page, come back to this page.
Makes sense.
Which I don't think that's being very effective, but
in the last 30 days, you've reached 60,000 humans, it looked like. Scrolling over for reach.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to think about.
Yeah. And they've seen your content 3.89 times. Just kind of like someone's opening your email at least once a week, which is great.
Yeah. No, all that stuff is working. I still think my biggest thing is like I'm still in my head looking for like a quick win, a way to just like ramp up sales really, really quick. But everything I'm doing here is kind of like these sort of gradual, slow, incremental improvements, and I'm not patient enough.
It's just like investing, right? It's the investors who wait a long time and they're really patient with the market versus the ones who make a couple of real quick trades.
Yeah, for sure. So it's moving along. I still haven't figured out. In fact, this isn't really a Facebook ad thing, but maybe you'll have some opinions on it. So we've got our newsletter. This is more of like an angling thing, which you'll probably have some insight. With our newsletter, the way we angle our newsletter right now is anybody who listens to our podcast, hey, subscribe to our newsletter. It's $15 a month. We take notes on every episode and mail them to you, and you get access to all of these notes. And it's just a real easy, convenient, time-saving way to consume pretty much everything we put out on the podcast. Because, we put out about 10 hours of content every month on our podcast. So obviously, most people probably aren't consuming all of that. That's why we did the newsletter. It's like a time-saving thing. Now, what we're finding is that's working pretty well for our warm people who've been following us for a while, who listen to our podcast, who've been on our list for a while. We're capturing those people. We're getting all the low-hanging fruit. But that angle doesn't do anything for cold traffic. If you don't know our podcast, you don't know what we're doing, nobody gives a shit about that product.
I would take a look at the executive. It's in airport magazines. It's not Rosetta Stone, but there's a company out there that basically takes cliff notes for audiobooks for executives. Like, hey, here's a 500-page book, and here's the audio notes or the cliff notes.
Is it that Read It For Me site, that one? I
think that might be it. I would look around some of those marketing and angles.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? Like, because in my opinion, what I hear you saying is, hey, if you know us, it's cliff notes. Yeah, it's a warm market. It's great. But if you know us, you get the Cliff Notes. Cold market obviously doesn't work so well. So that makes it really interesting, in my opinion, is if you're positioning it just to make it up because, read it for me or whatever, as something like this, hey, we go out and we interview some of the top marketing minds out there today who are, with I'm just making this up, Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. These people have encompassed this much business. How can you possibly listen to over 200 hours, especially this content? We made it really easy, boiled it down to, and then kind of structure it kind of like the read it for me.
Yeah, I like that. I don't even know why I didn't think of looking at some of those other sites, because there's other ones too that do. There may not be audio books, but there's like book summary sites. Like Blinkist is one that I had a subscription to for a while. There's Read It For Me. There's like 3 or 4 other sites that do kind of that same thing where it's like book summary type things.
So one of the things I've heard Brad Costanza say that I've always liked, like I could see you and Joe doing a video on this, right? It's something like, hey, you guys have probably seen some of our podcasts in the past, but I just wanted to open up a little bit with you. Over 4 years ago, or whatever it is, we started this podcast, and really selfishly, we wanted to interview some of the top marketers out there. We wanted to get some of their insights because we had questions on some of our campaigns, but we figured it could really help a lot of other people too. Now, over the years, we've interviewed, over 70 different people or 80 different people, and every single month we come out with 10 more pieces of content. Now, there's lots of nuggets that I've taken away for our business, which is great. I have this whole notepad full of nuggets that have really helped our business. Well, then when Joe and I were really talking is what's some of the most powerful thing about our episodes as well. I kind of looked at my notebook for the stuff that we implemented and figured, why don't we just do this for everybody else? So if you've been a listener, if you've listened to 1 or 2 or 3 of our podcasts, what we do is we have all these episodes boiled down to literally during the biggest gold nuggets, just like if someone was sitting there taking notes on your behalf.
I love that. I'll have to.
One other targeting idea you might look into is finding people who like Tribe of Mentors. Tim Ferriss's book.
Oh yeah.
It's basically the same premise, right? Tim just interviewed a bunch of like people he really liked and respected. So if you like people who like that, you're just doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, no, it's funny. That's kind of where we got the idea. We saw the book Tribe of Mentors and Tools of Titans, the one that came before it, and he's just repurposing the stuff that came out on his podcast. And so originally we were actually going to do the same thing and release a book on it. And then we decided, you know what, maybe we could do something that will get us recurring income instead of just one-time income. So that's actually exactly where the newsletter concept came from.
Nice.
So very cool. Yeah, I think that gives me some good ideas. I'm looking forward to getting to the video of this because I'm just going to like throw it back at rev.com and get the transcripts of what Kurt just said and probably use that as a script.
Sounds perfect.
Cool, man. Well, Joe and I, we got your email, and we're figuring out we are gonna move forward. It's just a matter of when we're gonna move forward. So
whatever works out best for you.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be circling back around with that specifically next month and figuring it out because we do need to do something there. The amount of time that I spend inside of the Facebook ad platform is way too little for the amount that's going on in here.
I agree with that.
Usually my routine is, oh shit, I got a call with Kurt on Wednesday, better get in on Monday and tweak some ads so I have something to show for it by Wednesday.
It's funny because like I remember we worked with, I think he was number 6 or 7 inside of Herbalife. He hired us literally just to tell him what to do because he's like, all right, look, I think I got most of the stuff done, but like I just need to know exactly what to do. And we're like, okay, we'll sell you coaching if you want to work with us one-on-one. Okay, yeah. Great. And he still didn't do this stuff, which is totally cool. And he's like, look, can I just pay you as an agency? For what? Well, I'll definitely do it if you're running it. Okay, it's just more expensive, but I'll definitely do it. I'm like, okay. He's like, then I talked to my wife. She makes all the money. So I'm like, dude, as long as you guys have a system, and that's what I like about you guys, is you really do. You have a system and you have processes, and then you just get busy. It's not like that you have ADD and you're doing 50 different things at once. You're just working on all your other businesses and processes.
Yeah.
So as long as you have those, putting those over to the agency, it's not very hard because you guys don't have a hope or a dream. You actually have processes and a plan.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. That's, but it is something we beat ourselves up over, is all the stuff we could be doing that we're not doing as effectively as we should. But I have a feeling that's pretty much every entrepreneur. So
that's what we all do, all of us.
Cool, man. Well, I'll let you go. It sounds like you guys are probably getting done with your calls a little bit earlier than normal, but I'll
lots of stuff to catch up on. It's gonna be great.
Go hang out at your new hangout that you're gonna get for your events.
We'll see. We'll see that tomorrow. That'd be great.
All right, man. Good talking to you, and we'll catch up next week. I think I'll have to check my calendar, make sure I'm in town, but probably be talking to you next week.
Sounds perfect.
All right, man.
All right, take it easy, brother.
You too.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.